vid det tillfället en promotor för olika rapgrupper, bland annat Snoop Dogg. Och han hade då ett skivbolag som kallas för Death Row Records. Och kom själv från Compton i Kalifornien och tillhörde den del av gänggrupperna där som kallas för Bloods. Den andra, på andra sidan stan, kallas ju som bekant för Crips. Så den här berättelsen är rätt så känd egentligen.
Suge Knight approached Tupac and he told him he'd bail him out of prison. And he also told him basically, your enemies would be my enemies. He said that I would take the responsibility to basically protect you. Suge Knight, like I said, he had about 400 or 500 people around him all the time. And these were some guys that used to be in the streets. He put out the $1 million and bailed Tupac out of prison. And that's how myself, along with the Outlaws and Tupac, we moved to Los Angeles, California. The first record that Tupac did on Death Row Records, it was an album called All Eyes on Me. Myself was on about 7 songs of this record. To this day, it sold 20 million records worldwide. Tupac at this time was the #1 selling rap artist in the history. He had the #1 hits on the Billboard charts. It was times that he even beat Elvis Presley on the Billboard charts at times. When Tupac came to Death Row Records, everything was moving fast for him. He was the top celebrity in America. He was moving #1. He was making a lot of money. And we happened to one day be sitting in the living room with Tupac, and we had a conversation that to this day I will never forget this conversation. I will come back after he translated.
Så Suge Knight betalade borgen för Tupac och sa till honom och hela hans band att de som är era fiender kommer att vara mina fiender. Han tog dem upp på celebritetens stege, kan man säga, och Tupac och hans band blev ganska snart kända över hela Amerika, till den punkt att han till och med tryckte en poster där det stod "Jag är presidenten". Men i ett samtal mellan Mutah och Tupac så utspelar sig följande konversation.
I recall that Tupac, it was a stage in his life that he was very suicidal. And he used to always speak about death. In many of his songs, he spoke about this stuff. He had songs called Death Around the Corner. He used to talk about how he wanted to murder his own self because he had a lot of problems once he entered the music industry. But at this time in Tupac's life, being that he got very successful, he just bought him a house on the beach, bought him a Rolls Royce. He was making a lot of money. And we were sitting in his living room with him, and Tupac said, "Remember, I used to always speak about death, how I don't want to live anymore." He said, "But now that I have all this money, now that I'm driving this Rolls Royce," he said, "for some reason I don't want to die." Unfortunately, a couple months later, Tupac got into a fist fight with an individual in Las Vegas, Nevada, in a hotel. A couple hours later, Tupac was driving down the street with Suge Knight driving. Tupac was in a passenger. It was an entourage of about 15 to 20 cars. One car pulled up on the side of Tupac's car, opened fire, shot Tupac 13 times. He died 7 days later in the hospital.
Så vid den här tidpunkten var Tupac väldigt självmordsbenägen. Trots all celebritet, trots alla pengar, så kände han inte på att leva. Han skrev många texter som handlade om detta. Han skrev texter som handlade om att döden bara är runt gathörnet. Och vid ett tillfälle strax därpå så befann de sig i Las Vegas. Och han hade känslan att han ändrade någonstans sin inställning. När han hade fått alla de här sakerna så kände han ändå att ja, men jag vill leva, jag vill fortsätta leva. Han hade en livsglädje vid detta tillfället när han befann sig i Las Vegas. Men han hamnade tyvärr i ett slagsmål. Och det slagsmålet resulterade i att en stor biljakt följde därpå. Genom 15 till 20 bilar. Och en av bilarna kör upp gängs med bilen där han sitter, och Suge Knight sitter vid ratten. Och någon skjuter honom med ett maskingevär 15-20 gånger. Så hans liv slutade där.
Tupac died 7 days later in the hospital. At this point, me and the rest of the Outlaws, we didn't really know which way to turn. We was only 16, 17 years old at this time, and we lived with Tupac. He was our leader. He was the one telling us which way to turn, which way to do things. He basically was like a big brother to us. So after the death of Pac, some of us went back to New Jersey, some of us went to Atlanta. Myself along with Gaddafi, we went back to New Jersey, and I got arrested. And I told myself while I was sitting in the cell that this is the reason I left New Jersey. Let me go back to Atlanta, let me go back to Los Angeles and pursue my career in the music industry. I told Gaddafi that he should leave New Jersey, he should come with me because New Jersey was a very dangerous place. He decided not to leave. So I introduced Gaddafi to my little cousin. I had a little cousin in my neighborhood that he was known to be a person that had a reputation. He was known to always carry a gun, and he was known to use that gun. So I figured if I introduced Gaddafi to my little cousin, Gaddafi would be in good hands.
Så Tupac dog inte, som jag sa, mitt i den här biljakten, utan 7 dagar senare. Men hur som helst resulterade detta i att gruppen spreds i olika städer runt om i USA. Och Mutah och Gaddafi åkte till New Jersey. Men det strax därpå tagen och väl ute igen så bestämde han sig för att introducera Gaddafi till sin kusin. En man som ständigt bar vapen och var van att använda vapen. Och tänkte då att Gaddafi kunde vara i goda händer.
So I left New Jersey, and around October, Tupac died in September. I get a phone call in November that Gaddafi just got shot. And when I asked the person who called me who shot Gaddafi, she said, Napoleon, it was your little cousin. Gaddafi died a few days later in the hospital. He was only 17 years old. I couldn't imagine what would make my little cousin pull out a gun, shoot Gaddafi. So I called my little cousin. He told me that he was playing with a gun. He was high on drugs. He pointed it in Gaddafi's face, and the gun accidentally went off, and he took a person's life. My cousin did 10 years in prison. Now, most of us, when you're young, you think of getting drugs, getting high, you're only going to have a good time. My little cousin never thought that the day he walked out the house with a gun on him, he experimented with a little bit of drugs, that he was going to take somebody's life. So after the death of Gaddafi, people from Gaddafi hood, from his block and my block, we got into a war together. They would say that anybody from my family, anybody from my block that they see, they was going to kill him. My little cousin and my brothers, they were saying that anybody they see from Gaddafi block or anybody they see from Gaddafi family, they was going to kill him. So it basically took 2 blocks, 2 streets that was once together, and it took us on the edge of a war. Somebody shot my grandmother's house up. Another time an individual tried to burn my grandmother's house down. It basically was getting out of control.
Så det hela slutade med att efter att ha överlämnat sin gode vän Gaddafi till sin kusin, den skjutglada kusinen, visade sig att den skjutglada kusinen skjuter ner Gaddafi under stark drogpåverkan. När Mutah ringer kusinen och frågar varför gjorde du detta, så sa han, nej, jag bara lekte med lite droger. Men det här i sig resulterar, vi kan se att det här är ingen väg framåt för någon. Droger leder bara bakåt. Och han fick 10 år i fängelse för detta. Han var då vid detta laget var Mutah och Gaddafi endast 16 år gamla. Hur som helst, Gaddafi bodde på en sida av gatan och Mutah på en annan. Dessa 2 grannskap landade nu i ett krig mellan varandra. Det var öppet krig på öppen gata. Hans farmor som bodde i hans kvarter fick flera gånger sitt hus förstört av människorna i Gaddafis klar eller grannskap framåt.
So that same year, after my cousin turned himself into prison, the beef between the 2 blocks, it kind of died out. That same year, I get another phone call that my oldest brother committed suicide. So at this time of my life, I didn't know how to handle all the deaths. My grandmother that raised me passed away, then Tupac, then Gaddafi, and then my brother took his own life. So I started to turn to drugs. I started to experiment with different drugs. and I started to experiment with alcohol every single day. I was afraid to live my life sober. Around this time, me and the Outlaws, we put our own record out, and this was a record that sold 1.5 million records worldwide, so money started to come my way. I started to make a lot of money. Every 6 months, I was cashing a check for about $300,000 this 6 months, another month $200,000, $400,000. Every time a brand new car would come out, I would be the first person at the car dealership to purchase this car. Everything you can imagine in this world that you want, I was able to get it at the tip of my fingers. But I noticed the more money that I started to make, the more big houses that I started to buy, the only thing I didn't have was happiness. So I started to get drunk, I started to get high, like most of us when we want to get something and we're searching for something in life, we turn to drugs. But I noticed that this was a temporary happiness. My life was in darkness. I got real paranoid to the point that every single day I would leave out my house, I would have a loaded pistol because I thought that people wanted to murder me. I had a lot of enemies. I was getting into a lot of fights. I just started to spin out of control and I didn't know where to turn. So eventually, it happened to be one day that I got into a fist fight with my own little brother to the point that I sent my baby brother to the hospital. We had to get staples in his head. The guy who broke the fight up happened to be a Muslim, and that's how I changed my life by accepting the religion of Islam. One of the things I do now is I go around and I do talk to the youth. The reason why I'm here today is because you guys are starting to have crime in your neighborhood. You guys are starting to get caught up in gang violence. Most of you guys might do it for fun. Some of you might be real gangsters. But we here to tell you that I come from a society, man, that my family was the biggest gangsters in the neighborhood that I grew up in. Some of them is dead, majority of them is in prison, and some of them turned using their own drugs. So, if I can keep flowing, maybe they understand. You guys understand? Yes. Okay. So basically, most of the kids that I notice, they listen to rap music. How many of y'all listen to rap music? Let me hear some of your favorite rappers. Let me hear you guys say some names. Tupac. Who else? Bizzy Bone. Who else?
Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake was a singer. Who else? Ice Cube. Tupac. Who else? Easy. B.I.G. Snoop Dogg. How many of y'all think Snoop Dogg is a gangster? How many of y'all think Snoop Dogg is a gangster? Be honest. One of the things we want to tell the youth is that unfortunately most of the youth, when they listen to these rappers, they start to try to imitate these rappers. They start to believe what these rappers say. Some of them even to the point if Snoop Dogg say to wear blue, you will see all the youth want to wear blue. If Jay-Z say to act like this, the youth will start acting like that. If Tupac say to do this, the youth will start doing this. Most of the kids don't know because the media doesn't show you guys that this is behind the scenes when it comes to the music industry. Most of these rappers, 99.5 of these rappers, they no longer do what they say in their raps. So when you hear these rappers talk about how they did a drive-by, how they smoked this marijuana, how they drunk this alcohol, and you go do this stuff, most of these rappers are smart enough not to even do this themselves. 50 Cent said out of his own mouth, he don't even smoke marijuana. How many of you guys might know kids that listen to 50 Cent and smoke marijuana? You know why 50 Cent doesn't smoke marijuana? Because you guys might heard this before, you might think it's a joke, but 50 Cent said, man, it kills your brain cells. He's smart enough, he's a gangster rapper that's talking about this stuff in his rap, but he's smart enough not to smoke weed. He's smart enough not to even drink alcohol. Most of these rappers talk about their gangsters are walking around with guns, most of them live in air conditions. They don't even come to the hood anymore. So while you listening to their music and you starting to act like a gangster, while you destroying your neighborhood, they moved out of the ghettos, they living in big mansions, air conditioners, laughing at people like y'all. And the reason why I know is because I was the same way. When I used to go into the recording studio, I didn't even care if a kid would pick up a gun and blow the next kid's brains out. My main concern was as long as he bought my record before he killed himself, I doesn't care what he do with his life. Because most of us is programmed that all we care about is money. So you guys need to be more responsible when you listening to these rappers thinking that they some type of gangsters. For example, 50 Cent, he lived in the biggest house on the East Coast of America. I think his house is bigger than the White House. He doesn't go in the hood anymore. So while you listening to 50 Cent destroying your neighborhoods, these rappers are smart enough to get away from that life. So what about you? What are you going to do with your life? This is a question that every single body needs to ask themselves in this room. What I'm gonna do in my life when I grow up? Do I want to be like a gangster till I'm 48 years old, till I'm 50 years old? Now I can't get a job because I thought school was for dummies or I thought school was for punks. Because now we're living in a time when people don't even want to go to school no more because they think being a dummy is cool. They think if you being a dummy is cool. How can you be a dummy and count some money? How can you be dumb and want to have some money? Because this is part of the life of the gangsters, right? They have money, right? How you gonna count your money? You don't have education. So the kids nowadays, when we was raised up, when we was growing up on the street, even though we was on a neighborhood, even though we was on the corner, if somebody would have gave us another opportunity to make it out of the hood, we would have went and snatched that opportunity. You guys coming from a land that I'm sure you guys get free schooling out here, right? Correct? Yes. Can you go to free universities? Yes. Why are you guys not taking advantage of this? If I take you to the worst neighborhoods of America and show you the worst people in the corner, and you go to these individuals and say, if I give you a chance to go to a university for free, would you put down your drugs, would you put down your gun? I guarantee you 99% of them would do that. Where we come from, man, in most parts of New Jersey, it literally look like a war zone. You guys living good in Sweden, but why do you guys want to break down your neighborhoods? Why do you guys want to destroy your neighborhoods? And some of you answer the question, some of you, if you truly answer the questions, you would say because you want to be a gangster. Real gangsters, for one, they don't last long. There is not a gangster on the face of the earth that you can say he's been a gangster forever. Have you guys ever heard of American Gangster? Have you ever heard of the movie American Gangster? Yes. It was a true story about the biggest gangster in America. He was the biggest gangsters in America, selling so much drugs that the Americans thought it was the Italian mafia. He was an African American from New Jersey. He got arrested. He told himself, he said, man, if it was anybody that I thought would never get caught, I thought it would have been me. Every gangster got to fall. Everything that goes up had to come down. Either you would get murdered by most of the time your best friend or someone that you trust, or you would spend the rest of your life in prison. Now ask yourself, did anybody want to spend the rest of their life in prison? Do anybody want to go to prison 13 years old, come out of prison 25 years old, lost half of his life? I seen that with my little cousin. My little cousin that killed Gaddafi went to prison when he was 14 years old. He came home when he was 25 years old, and he didn't know which way to start. Now he's locked back up in prison. Do anybody want this for their life? Do you guys want this for your life? Do you guys want somebody to put a gun in your face and pull a trigger because you want to be a gangster? Are you guys that tough? Do you guys want to be 30, 40 years old in a wheelchair because somebody stabbed you in your back and now you cannot walk for the rest of your life? I have a friend that's in the hospital right now. He cannot walk. He's paralyzed from the neck down. Just because of something that he did in the past. Just because he's seen a friend of his that he used to sell drugs with in the past. This individual changed his life, and this person told him to give him a ride home. He went and dropped this individual. This happened 3 weeks ago. He dropped this person home. The person got out of the car, put a gun out on him and told me, give me your money. He said, I don't do drugs anymore. He shot him in the head. Now he's paralyzed for the neck down. The only thing he had in his pocket was $100. Just because he lived that lifestyle, he came back to haunt him. So it's very important that you guys know what you're going to do with your life. Because a real gangster is the one that get education. A real gangster is the one that educate himself, come back and open businesses in his neighborhood. A real gangster is not the one that you think is a gangster on the corner trying to be tough. He's going to end up in prison. He's going to be a bum eventually. He probably don't even know how to count to 10. But you guys look up to this person like he's a gangster. So it's very important, man, don't let these musicians, don't let the stuff that you see on television fool you. Because these rappers were smart enough to get out of the hood. These rappers were smart enough to walk away from that life. But what you guys want to do with your life? You should ask yourself this question. What you want to do with your life? Because mommy and daddy not going to always be there for you. Because in America, you guys might have a knife problem right now. Knife problem, right? Do you guys have any guns on the streets out here? But the majority of the crime is with knives, right? The majority of the crimes with knives. Do you know in America we had the same problem? When it started off with only thing you would see or only thing you would hear about is somebody fighting each other or somebody pulling out a knife. Do you know in America right now, man, it seems like if you look at a person the wrong way, you got a chance of pulling out a gun and shooting you? Do you want your neighbors to go that route? It started off with only knives in America. Nowadays, everybody and their mother packing a gun. The grandmother might come out the house with a Uzi and shoot you nowadays in America. But you have to remember that it started off with only knives. This can happen to your neighborhood. Do you guys want to live in a neighborhood where your little brother or sister's walking down the street and all of a sudden a person want to do a drive-by shooting? Do you want to live in a neighborhood like that? That your grandmother, your mother have to sleep in the bathtub because there's so much shooting in the neighborhood? Man, this is happening in America. If it happened to America, it can happen out here. But it's up to you guys to keep controlling your streets. Because you might think it's a joke now. You might laugh at it now. You might say, well, I'm a gangster right now, but let me tell you something, man. There's always somebody that's more of a gangster than you. You might have big muscles, but it's somebody that don't have a muscle, but he might have the strength to pick up a weapon and point it at you. So you always have to know the code of the street, that is always somebody better than you. There's always somebody that's more of a gangster than you. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to live in a neighborhood where your brothers and sisters cannot walk home from school because of something you did 5 years ago, and now the people are doing